I was halfway through paying my electric bill when the alert flashed across my screen. $85,000 withdrawn. My breath caught in my throat. The charge wasn't just any transaction, it was a contract with the Langford Estate, the most exclusive wedding venue in Chicago. My name was plastered across the paperwork, my signature scrawled at the bottom. Except it wasn't mine. I know my handwriting. The slant, the loops, the pressure of the pen, this was an imitation, a cruel copy. My pulse hammered so loud I thought the neighbors could hear it. Someone had stolen my name, and tied me to a debt that could ruin me. And then the truth sliced through me like ice, the handwriting belonged to someone I knew. Someone I had trusted all my life. My own brother. My name is Emily Carter, 29, an interior designer trying to carve out a life in Chicago. People see the polished version of me, the tidy apartment, the steady paycheck, the polite smile. What they don't see is the weight I've carried for years, a weight carefully fastened to me by the people I call family. I was 16 when it began. While other kids spent summers chasing fireworks at Navy Pier, I worked double shifts at a diner, scraping together tips to pay off my brother Michael's credit card debt after he accidentally maxed it out on sneakers and concert tickets. My parents called me the responsible one, a compliment that felt more like a life sentence. At my high school graduation, when Grandma slipped me an envelope with $200 and whispered, "This is for you, sweetheart." For college, I never saw a dime of it. A week later, Michael showed up with a new phone. My mother's excuse echoed in my ears, "Family takes care of family." That phrase haunted every milestone of my life. When I landed my first real job, they celebrated, not because of my success, but because it meant I could cover Michael's rent. When I bought my first car, they praised me, then borrowed it for weeks, leaving me on buses and trains. Each sacrifice was brushed aside as if it didn't matter, as if I didn't matter. The invisible math of our family was simple: Michael's desires were urgent, my needs could wait. Now, staring at that forged signature on an $85,000 contract, the truth hit me with a ferocity I could no longer ignore. My family didn't just expect me to provide for them. They were willing to steal my very identity to get what they wanted. And for the first time in my life, I felt something shifting inside me, something sharp, something dangerous. Maybe I wasn't going to play along anymore. Sleep refused to come that night. I sat in the dark, the glow of my laptop the only light in my Chicago apartment. My hands trembled as I typed a single word into the search bar: wedding. Dozens of results flooded the screen: Pinterest notifications, promotional spam. And then, one thread buried 2 months back, the subject line chilling me to the bone: Emily's contribution. My stomach knotted as I clicked. There it was. An email chain between my mother, my father, and Michael. Their words seared into me. "Don't worry. She'll give in eventually. She always does. Remember when she swore she wouldn't cover Michael's tuition? Within a week, she wrote the check." And then Michael's reply, smug and casual: "If she resists, no problem. She's got the credit. We'll figure something out." I covered my mouth with both hands, as if that could muffle the scream rising in my throat. My own family wasn't just asking, they were plotting. Planning my compliance like it was inevitable, like my future, my savings, even my signature, belonged to them. The betrayal wasn't an accident. It was strategy. A well-rehearsed routine they'd perfected over the years. I whispered to the empty room, my voice breaking. "They've been manipulating me my entire life." The walls of my apartment seemed to close in. My parents weren't protectors. My brother wasn't just reckless. They were a team, conspiring against me. And as the rage rose to drown out the tears, one thought crystallized so sharp it felt like steel. This time, I won't be the one who breaks. The clock on my laptop read 3:17 a.m. when the email pinged. At first, I thought it was another wedding reminder, another cruel notification chaining me tighter to Michael's lies. But the subject line was different: interior design position, San Diego office. I blinked, heart thudding. Eleanor, my coworker, had mentioned this opportunity weeks ago, but I'd brushed it off. Too far. Too drastic. Too impossible. But as I opened the message, something inside me shifted. Your portfolio has caught our eye, the hiring manager wrote. We'd like to schedule an interview this month. My breath caught. The words glowed on the screen like a lifeline tossed into stormy waters. San Diego. 3 states away. Sunshine, ocean air, a fresh start far from Chicago's gray winters and the suffocating grip of my family. For years, I had told myself running wasn't an option, that leaving meant betrayal, that family comes first. But here it was, a chance to choose myself. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the forged contract still spread across my desk. $85,000 my family tried to steal from me. A lifetime of being the responsible one, the safety net, the sacrifice. And now, a door cracked open. A whisper slipped from my lips, fragile but real. Maybe it's not too late. Maybe I can leave. For the first time in years, the weight on my chest lifted, just slightly. The fear was still there, gnawing at the edges. But alongside it, dangerously close to hope, something new began to rise. Strength. Sunday evening smelled of roasted chicken and rosemary as I stepped into my parents' house, but the warmth of the kitchen did nothing to ease the cold knot in my stomach. Every smile felt sharp, every hug too tight, like I was walking into a theater where the script had been written without me. It didn't take long. Aunt Linda was the first to pounce, her voice syrupy sweet. Emily, you're just the most generous sister. Funding Michael's entire wedding. What an angel you are. The fork nearly slipped from my hand. My throat burned, but I forced a tight smile. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Before I could finish, my mother swept in, looping her arm through mine as if we were co-stars on a stage. Oh, don't be modest, honey. Everyone's been so inspired by your gift. The living room buzzed with approval I hadn't earned. Dad stood near the fireplace, his voice booming as he addressed a cluster of relatives. My daughter Emily insisted on the Langford estate. Nothing less for her brother's big day. My pulse roared in my ears. Words I had never spoken were now gospel, and everyone nodded as if it were fact. Across the room, Michael basked in the attention, his fiancée clutching his arm like a prize. He caught my eye, smirked, and raised his champagne glass in mock salute. Then came the final blow. Mom pulled out her leather-bound planner, flipping it open with a flourish. We're at nearly 300 guests now, Emily. That feels right, don't you think? And the planner still needs your credit card for the ice sculpture deposit. 300 guests. An ice sculpture. My name signed on contracts I never touched. My head pounded. The walls of the house that once felt like home now pressed in on me, every corner echoing with expectations I had never agreed to. I pushed back from the table, my voice barely steady. I need some air. As I stepped onto the porch, the night air slapped me awake. My heart hammered so hard I thought I might collapse, but beneath the fear, another feeling stirred, hot, defiant, unstoppable. They weren't just using me. They were erasing me. And I was done playing their part. Back in my apartment, the silence felt heavier than the dinner table had. I dropped my coat onto the chair and just stood there, staring at the forged contract spread across my desk. Their voices still rang in my ears, Mom's planner snapping open, Dad's booming pride, Michael's smug smirk. Something inside me snapped. I pulled out my laptop, the screen lighting up my determined face. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I opened folders of old bank statements, tax records, and years of archived emails. Every loan, every favor, every so-called family emergency, I logged them one by one. The spreadsheet grew like a graveyard of broken promises. The total at the bottom made my chest tighten, $47,562. And now, an $85,000 wedding stacked on top. I whispered into the empty room. No more. Not this time. I snapped photos of the contract, the forged signature, the invoices with Emily Carter approval required, scribbled across the margins. I dug through my phone, screenshotting texts from Michael bragging about upgrades, Mom insisting, family takes care of family, Dad scolding me about my responsibility. Each piece went into a folder I labeled evidence, fraud. The more I organized, the steadier my hands became. For the first time in years, I wasn't trembling. Then I opened my calendar. I typed 3 words across the next week's lunch hour. Interview, San Diego. Just seeing it there, bold and unmovable, sent a shiver through me. I wasn't just documenting. I wasn't just planning. I was fighting back. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't scared of what my family would do to me. I was more afraid of what would happen if I didn't stop them. Monday morning, the city buzzed outside my window, but inside my apartment, the air felt charged, like the moment before a thunderstorm breaks. My laptop screen glowed with the folder labeled evidence, fraud. I attached it all, the forged contract, the handwriting comparisons, the screenshots of Mom and Dad plotting my compliance, Michael's texts bragging about upgrades Emily will cover. At the top of the email I typed in the recipients, the Langford estate. Extended family group chat. My lawyer's office. My finger hovered, then pressed send. For a long moment, nothing happened. Just the quiet hum of my fridge. Then my phone lit up. First, a message from my cousin Sarah. Emily, what is this? Is this real? Then, a call from my aunt. Sweetheart, your mom is saying there's been a misunderstanding, but these documents, Emily, they look serious. I didn't answer. I just watched as notification after notification piled up. By afternoon, the cracks were spreading fast. The Langford estate left a voicemail, their polite tone sharpened with unease. Miss Carter, we need clarification. We cannot proceed with this event under fraudulent circumstances. Another buzz. This time, Michael. His voice, dripping with rage, exploded through the phone. You think you're clever. You just humiliated us in front of everyone. Do you have any idea what you've done? I let him rant, recording every word. By evening, the family group chat had turned into a battlefield. Relatives demanding answers, whispers about loans my parents had already begged for, gossip about the wedding being in jeopardy. And then, the message that made me sit back and breathe for the first time in weeks. Due to unresolved payment issues, the Langford estate is placing the Collins wedding on hold. Immediate action required. Michael's fiancée posted crying emojis. My mother typed paragraphs of excuses. My father barked orders in all caps. I closed my laptop slowly, almost reverently. For years, they'd written the script. But with one email, I had ripped the stage out from under them. And for the first time, they were the ones scrambling while I, finally, stood still. By Tuesday morning, Chicago no longer felt like home, it felt like a cage that was closing in. Every call from Mom, every voicemail from Dad, every venom-laced text from Michael made the walls press tighter around me. But this time, I wasn't trapped. I had a key. The offer letter from San Diego blinked in my inbox like a lighthouse cutting through fog. $82,000 salary. Relocation assistance. Start date in 3 weeks. The kind of chance people dream of, and the kind of chance I never thought I deserved. I printed the lease agreement for a small 1-bedroom near Balboa Park, running my hand over the paper like it was a passport to freedom. The rent was modest, the balcony overlooked palm trees instead of traffic, and most importantly, it was mine. No one could touch it. That night, James, my only friend who knew the full story, brought takeout and a six-pack, dropping heavy boxes of legal printouts on my coffee table. "With this evidence," he said, pointing at the stack, "you can even break your lease in Chicago without penalty. Tenant protection laws cover identity theft." I nodded, my chest tight with a cocktail of fear and relief. "So, I can really leave?" James looked at me, steady and unflinching. "Emily, you can't afford not to." We spent hours packing my life into boxes, labeling them with sharp black markers: books, kitchen, work files, dreams. I lingered over that last one, smiling for the first time in weeks. On Friday, I scheduled the movers for a precise time, the same afternoon my family would be distracted at a cake tasting. The irony wasn't lost on me. While they obsessed over buttercream frosting, I'd be dismantling the life they thought they controlled. As I taped the last box shut, I whispered to the empty apartment. "This isn't running away. This is running toward something." The words settled into me like armor. For the first time in 27 years, I wasn't bracing myself for what my family would demand next. I was preparing for the life I chose. The morning of the move dawned impossibly clear. Sunlight spilled across my apartment, glinting off the taped boxes stacked like soldiers against the wall. At noon sharp, the moving truck rumbled into the lot below, its engine echoing like a war drum. My phone buzzed relentlessly on the counter. 32 missed calls. 15 voicemails. Mom. Dad. Michael. Each message sharper than the last. I ignored them all. The movers, 2 men in blue uniforms, climbed the stairs, nodding politely as I handed them the floor plan I'd drawn. "We'll start with the labeled boxes," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. As they carried my life piece by piece, my phone lit up again. This time, Michael's voice roared through the voicemail. "Answer the damn phone, Emily. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us." I saved the recording. Evidence. Minutes later, Dad's gravelly tone thundered. "Family takes care of family. Don't make me come find you." The threat vibrated through my chest, but I didn't falter. By the time the movers loaded my desk, my laptop pinged with a new notification. A Facebook post from Mom, her words dripping with weaponized guilt. "Heartbroken when children forget where they came from. After everything we sacrificed as parents." Hundreds of comments piled in. Some sympathetic, others questioning. My cousin Jennifer asked, "Wait. I thought Emily only offered to coordinate, not pay." The first cracks were showing in their narrative. Then came the pounding. A fist against my apartment door. My blood ran cold. "Emily." Michael's voice thundered from the hallway. "Open this door right now." The movers froze, glancing at me. My heart slammed against my ribs, but I forced myself upright. "Keep working," I whispered. Michael's fists hammered again. "I swear, if you ruin this wedding." I stepped closer to the door, my hand resting against the cool wood, and spoke loudly enough for him to hear. "It's already ruined. And I didn't ruin it, you did." Silence. A beat of stunned quiet, then muffled curses as footsteps stormed down the hall. I exhaled shakily, clutching the doorknob for balance. The last box disappeared into the truck. My phone buzzed once more, a message from the Langford estate. Contract cancelled. Due to fraudulent signatures, all responsibility lies with Michael Carter and parents of record. I read it twice, a smile tugging at the corner of my lips. For the first time, the weight wasn't on me. It was on them. And as the moving truck pulled away, carrying my carefully packed future, I knew there was no turning back. 3 days later, I stepped off the plane into the warm California air. The San Diego sun hit different, golden, steady, like it was welcoming me home to a place I'd never been. For the first time in years, my shoulders didn't hunch under invisible weight. The cab ride from the airport wound past palm trees swaying against an endless blue sky. I pressed my forehead to the window, almost afraid to blink, afraid this freedom might vanish if I looked away. My new apartment was modest, just a one-bedroom with a small balcony, but when I turned the key and pushed the door open, something inside me cracked wide. The space smelled of fresh paint and possibility. No family voices echoed in the walls. No planner snapping open with demands. Just quiet. Just mine. I set down my suitcase, running my hand over the wooden counter, the cool surface grounding me. A laugh, startling and real, bubbled out of me. It felt foreign at first, then free. That night, I sat on the balcony with a cup of coffee, watching the sunset burn orange over the Pacific. The same drink that had slipped from my hands in Chicago now sat steady between my palms. My phone buzzed on the table, more missed calls, more messages from home. I silenced it with one swipe. For once, the silence wasn't heavy. It was holy. In the distance, the city lights flickered to life, and I whispered to the night air. This is what beginning again feels like. The fear hadn't vanished. I knew the fallout with my family was far from over. But for the first time, the fear wasn't steering my life. I was. San Diego didn't just give me a new job. It gave me a new language, one I had never spoken fluently before. The language of no. At work, when Marcus, the senior designer, leaned against my desk and said, "I know it's your weekend, but can you finish these boards by Sunday?" The old Emily would have caved, heart racing, afraid of disappointing. This time, I smiled politely and shook my head. I'll be in early Monday to finish them, but this weekend is mine. For a moment, he looked stunned. Then, slowly, he nodded. Fair enough. The word no didn't stick in my throat anymore. It sat steady on my tongue, a shield instead of a sin. A week later, Tara, one of our junior designers, confided in me over coffee. Her client had demanded endless revisions without paying extra. I saw the same fear in her eyes, the fear of being the difficult one. I placed my hand gently over hers. Your work has value. And so do you. Set the boundary now, before it eats you alive. Her shoulders relaxed, relief washing over her. In that moment, I realized something powerful. By breaking free, I wasn't just saving myself. I was teaching others they could too. Every no I spoke carved out space for a louder, stronger yes, to myself, my peace, my future. I used to believe family defined me. Now I know, sometimes, the family we choose, the friends who show up, the colleagues who respect us, is the one that saves us. And every time I close my eyes at night, listening to the ocean outside my balcony, I remind myself of a truth I almost forgot. I am not an ATM. I am not a signature on a contract. I am Emily Carter. And that is enough. 3 months later, the morning light streamed through the wide San Diego windows of my apartment, painting the hardwood floor in soft gold. My books lined the shelves I'd built with my own hands, my sketches pinned proudly above my desk. Everything around me whispered one word, mine. The calls from Chicago had slowed. The angry texts turned to guilt-soaked voicemails, then to silence. Until one evening, as the sun dipped into the Pacific, a letter arrived in my mailbox. My mother's handwriting curved across the envelope. Inside, a single page. No excuses. No manipulation. Just 6 words. We never meant for it to go this far. For a long time, I stared at the paper, waiting for rage to rise. Instead, a quiet sadness filled me. I whispered into the ocean air, I forgive you. But I won't forget. Because forgiveness wasn't about excusing them, it was about freeing myself. The chains had been broken. The weight had been lifted. And I no longer needed their approval to define me. That weekend, my new friends gathered in my small apartment for a housewarming. Laughter filled the rooms that once echoed with loneliness. Eleanor raised a glass and said, "Here's to new beginnings, and to family, the kind we choose." Tears stung my eyes, but they were the cleansing kind. Later, as I stood on my balcony, the night breeze carrying the scent of salt water, I realized something profound. Some bridges burn not to punish, but to light the path forward. The wedding I didn't pay for had cost me my old life. But it gave me something priceless in return, freedom. I smiled into the horizon, the ocean stretching endlessly before me. "This is my chapter now," I whispered. "And I'm finally the one holding the pen."